Listeners everywhere, welcome to the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan, the weekly fix for your screen addiction and a trusted source for discussion of all things film and television. Please keep in mind that for the purposes of this podcast, Joel and Ryan are not acting as journalists, but rather fellow moving picture enthusiasts. All of their opinions should be taken as such. Also, please be warned that while Joel and Ryan may seem like petulant children, they are, in fact, adults who may occasionally use adult language. While they promise to bleep out all the worst words, it's a good bet you will still understand what they were saying. And now, with no further ado, here's Joel and Ryan.
Welcome, climb on board the great space coaster of love. Welcome to the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. I am Joel.
And this is my shark dance.
Yep.
I'm Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan is master of the shark dance. He is the one-man Sharknado. Welcome, and welcome to episode 3. This is, of course, the same, the number of episodes that equals the number of licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop, a 3.
I guess then as a very special episode.
Yeah, I guess. So this is just our third episode, which is our recapping some of the movies of last year and the year before and stuff that mostly Ryan has seen over the course of this past year, and hopefully sparking some of your interests to maybe check out some of these and to go, I've really been thinking about maybe watching that movie, and Ryan can go, I'm going to go ahead and say that you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, unfortunately on this show in particular, first show where there really are some, but yeah, I think you'll find you probably know better than me, because the ones that I really didn't like on this list are the ones you guys probably already skipped, to be honest.
Well, there you go.
So, but even those, we try and find the good in everything. And we're going to pick up the pace tonight because it's those kinds of movies. But before we do that, Joel...
Yeah.
I've got to slow things down. Slow them down.
Welcome to the movie show.
Because before we play the fanfare, we have a special category. Or it's not really fanfare. Before Joel does his awesome MC announcement / DLE or whatever.
Yes,
that's fanfare. I mean, that's cool. It's metaphorical fanfare. Great. Loyal listener of the show, Erica, gave us a suggestion for our look back on the Oscars for 2021, and her film didn't have any Oscar nominations, but it did have a BAFTA nomination, the Oscars of England, and it's an extraordinary movie. So we're going to talk a little bit about, and we're not going to make Erica listen all the way to the end of the episode if she doesn't want to. Isn't that sweet of us?
Yeah.
That's not
even though here's the thing, even though I bet she would have.
Yeah, she might have.
She's friend of the show.
Yeah, but let her have her moment right up front.
Yep.
Joel, tell us about that one?
Yeah,
so recommendations.
The movie that Erica wanted us. She said other this is a movie that that might not have elevated to the category of Best Picture, but she still found them worthy of her time. Let me read direct quotes here. There were several in other Oscar categories and in other awards contests that I love too. One movie that I didn't get any Oscar noms that I think at least should have been nominated for acting categories that I found really moving was Mass. 2021's Mass. I think its small ensemble was really overlooked. Real difficult subject matter, but unforgettable performances. As hard as it is to view, I wish more people would.
Give us a synopsis for that so that we know what we're talking.
The parents of both the shooter and one of the victims of a school shooting tragedy agree to meet and talk in an attempt to move forward.
And the
So,
four actors
and
are Reed, Bernie, Ann Dowd, Martha Plimpton, and Jason Isaacs. And I didn't. I feel like maybe I saw this, pass through recommendations, but just sort of forgot about it. I don't want to say I completely hadn't heard of it, but it obviously missed. This is the kind of movie I would have signed up for sure. More than a year ago, had I just kept better track of it, I guess. And it's everything she says. It's really, really extraordinary. It's written and directed by like Quirk Machine Fran Kranz, who you've seen in all kinds of things. As an actor, you definitely would recognize him. And there's a bit of his signature tone. They gather in the basement of this Episcopal church, and this sweet, but absolutely wrong-headed in every way church lady is trying to help facilitate this. And she's actually, even though it's got a little bit of his, you really feel the artist's work in this character, and the actor plays it really good because she plays it really earnestly and she plays it straight, but it's believable, or it's reasonable that in a film like this that a person like that would trip over their own tongue at some point. It gets a little unbelievable when she does it every time she opens her mouth. She's only part of the movie in the bookends of it. This is really a straight play, one location, the old fellowship hall in the basement of an Episcopal church, this sort of place we're talking about. And they're sitting around a table, and table scenes are hard to shoot. And they just are, because you got to get the footage of everybody, and the camera has to get out of the way of all the reactions and stuff. So they're hard to shoot and they're hard to edit. They're deceptively hard to shoot. And most great directors will tell you that the big table scenes are the ones they dread. Like the big action scenes, not so much. Those are exciting and invigorating, and they come with their challenges, but just shooting people around a table. And this is a film where they shot around a table for a few weeks. And that's just the technical aspect. That's my one criticism of it, and the technical amazement of it. Wow, it feels like a very small, intimate movie. But like most actor-directed and actor-written projects, the acting is extraordinary. That's the thing, that they know it when they see it. They communicate on that level with their fellow actors. And I mean, it's the thing that in all these sort of debuts by actors directing, you just almost always get really, really good acting. In fact, sometimes it could go over into, you linger on stuff too long. You don't want to cut. You want everything to land. Like sometimes it can be overkill. This film gets that balance exactly right. It's dealing with an impossibly tricky topic. All four of these actors are recognizable from other major things, and yet they all disappear into these different, deeply troubled, deeply wounded parental figures. And the mission of them coming together to try and better understand this, so that they can take the first steps into moving on with the rest of their lives, it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinarily honest film where you get both sides of this terrible equation, and you get these people who, while they have their moments of interrogating and defensiveness and confrontation, as you'd expect, that's where the drama comes from. They're all people who've come to this place to achieve something positive. And it's up to you, really, whether that is even an attainable goal in this sort of situation.
Yeah.
But I can't say enough for the performances. Ann Dowd was nominated for a BAFTA. She's got one of the showier performances in it, but they're all amazing. They're all really, really amazingly done. There's a shift in on the side, the victims' parents, Plimpton and Isaacs. There's a shift in their approach to this situation, where one comes in keeping things calm, and they cross and they flip it happens right before your eyes, and it's really, really magical. And the least probably famous guy, Reed Birney, you'll recognize him because he's a long-time character actor who shows up in all kinds of stuff, tons of stuff, in fact. Also, not seen him carry a quarter of a movie, maybe ever. He may have before, but to my knowledge, this is the first time I'm seeing it. And alongside Dowd, who's a legendary scene stealer, in the best way, but just, he's just outstanding. And so she's absolutely right. I mean, I don't know how much I can see how it's not best picture stuff. The cinematic ambition really isn't there, but it's such a complicated thing and such a tricky thing to deal with. And it's so well done that I appreciate the recommendation. And it was hard to sit through. Hell yes, it was. But that shouldn't stop anybody from watching it, because it's really, really good. And it's just, I mean, how many school shootings, how many public shootings are there? This is a non at all preachy movie that is dealing absolutely head on with one of the huge social issues of our time, and it does it by not showing a school shooting or not showing really anything about that.
Yeah,
and that's a neat trick that it pulls off, I have to say.
Yeah. I really think, especially Martha Plimpton was so great. I mean, the performance was so good. Not even the fact that she was a completely CGI character could have changed it. Sorry, Dude. No, she was fine. Martha's great. Martha is wonderful.
Dude, what is the matter with you? That joke is funny, Joel, but is it really funny enough to go in this place in the show?
I think absolutely it is. I will die upon this hill, and I may have already died upon that hill.
You may have to step over Joel on your way to the top of the hill. Who knows? We'll have to see how that shakes out.
Yep. All right, folks. So Erica, yes, thank you, Erica, for writing us, for giving us this movie to talk about, for asking us to talk about it. Yeah, it's great. And hey, other listeners, when you write us,
we do stuff.
There's a good chance you're going to end up on the show of some in some fashion.
Erica's other big request, and it's an awesome one, is the best films of director Fred Zinnemann. And you got to give me more time because I got to see more films. That's an era that I've seen a few of the key ones, so I'm excited to do it. But there's a bunch of very clearly awesome titles mixed in there that I absolutely haven't seen, and that sort of thing takes us a little time. So, but we're on it. We're doing our homework. That show. Well, there you go.
That show. Buckle up. All right,
Zinnemann, watch out.
Fred, you're gonna get you. Have you been having a hankering for the Zimmerman? Well, get ready to get your fix. All right. Speaking of getting your fix, I know when you've had parts 1 and you've had part 2. Now get ready for part 3 of The Year in Review 2022 and a few movies from 2021. Yeah.
And at least one from 2020.
Oh, yeah, probably. More likely.
Yeah. And I believe our next show even has a couple of 2019 movies in it. But, look, they're recent. It's what do you want from me?
Yeah, there you go. Recent-ish enough.
Just because I didn't catch them quickly doesn't mean they're not worth talking
about. Hey, Ryan, the old phrase, crime doesn't pay?
I am familiar with that phrase.
Well, surely they haven't seen these movies, because this next category of crime stories sure makes it seem like crime can be a lucrative opportunity. It was not
Nice.
great.
Nicely
Yeah.
done.
Woohoo. All right,
This is a weird mix of stuff because this
Yep.
is what I consider crime dramas, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, gangster movies like Goodfellas and Godfather and all that. It's all crime. Heist movies of all stars and stripes, and there's a million different ways to do a heist movie. Unless it's like Heist in Space, pretty much crime. And then just like hostage movies and kidnapping movies. Movies where the crime is the thing. Not jaywalking movies, or because
I gotta say, there was that period in it was around 1964 where there was just a slew of jaywalking movies.
Yeah.
Because they really thought that was going to be the next big thing that takes off. But it never quite caught on. There was the Gigolo Jaywalker. There was jaywalking on stilts. It was all these jaywalking films. And they really thought that was going to sweep the nation. Or at least
I guess the last kind of category would be, con artist games, confidence games.
Sure.
Those to me are what crime dramas are. And we got a little bit of every kind here, but they're just tonally the difference between like a real, there's Dog Day Afternoon and stuff, which is pretty light on its feet for a hostage movie. But the difference between a kidnapping film and a heist movie tonally is very, very different. But they all kind of fall in the category. So blah, blah, blah.
All right. Well, we are going to start out with a good friend of the show. And I don't mean like a friend like we actually know him, but boy, he's always entertaining to talk about. So I consider him a friend of the show. Rennie Harlin's film, The Misfits.
Misfits, not a lot of stars. You got to get to 3 stars for the Misfits. You got to combine the scores from like 3 or 4 different websites. So this is not a very well reviewed movie, but it's very expensive film. Scenes on a lot of private yachts and a lot of private clubs. It was paid by a lot of oil money. This is who financed it. And of course, I was drawn to it because a couple of good actors, Pierce Brosnan, who stars in the thing as an old art thief, bank robber type dude who gets recruited by this activist group to do this ultimate one last job. There's nothing in this film that you haven't seen before. But who's the young lady in it that plays his daughter?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. It could be Hermione Corfield.
It is Hermione Corfield.
Okay.
No, it's Hermione Corfield. Jamie's fun in it too. They're all having fun. It's a fun movie. It's short. It passes the time. It is, Rennie knows what to do, how to use a camera. And I mean, so he's an old pro. It's just, it's a heist movie where a bunch of like, activist rich people steal from a bunch of snobby rich people, and it's I don't know, and they all are living the high life and drinking champagne, and it's hard. It was hard for me to be like the whatever little working class message that the thing is going for is lost. But I did like Hermione's good actor, and so's Pierce, and when they were allowed to argue as father and daughter, and they're allowed to reconcile in whatever way like that. Yeah, there was something there that it was worthwhile. I don't think there's a lot of wisecracking, but not a lot of laughs. Not a great heist movie, but a big budgeted one that was shot in Qatar or something. I don't remember where, but someplace.
Yeah, a lot Dubai, and lots of.
Dubai makes sense because Dubai pays for a lot of that. A lot of that Hollywood glitz and glamour that you're getting, they really do. They're forking over a lot of money for it. So,
Abu Dhabi is actually. It looks like that's where most of it was shot.
That makes sense too. Yep.
Good friend, our maybe chief review correspondent Gordon 11. Not that we're gonna dip into the Gordon 11 well here too too early and too often, hopefully, but it does. Incoherent Mess is the title, and the review is: this film is an incoherent mess. The film tries to be an action comedy, but is successful at being neither.
Yeah, the action. I agree with. I don't think it's an incoherent mess. I think it's pretty easy to follow. What you want from a film like this is, because you've seen it all before, is execution marks. And in this way, I agree with Gordon. The action's not that great, and the comedy's not that great. So, what are you left with? Not a lot.
Yep. All right.
But
so
I just, I can't find it in my heart to condemn even a crappy film like that. Well, at least it's trying something different. It's not like it. It's not like it has the wind at its back from a Hollywood standpoint. It was made off to the side by people who cared about what they were doing, clearly, and it just doesn't hit the mark. And it's too bad it aims low and doesn't hit the mark, which is really is sort of right. You do feel a little embarrassed for it.
Just when you were like, what we haven't had in a while, or maybe ever had, and what we all desperately need to fill a void in our life is Russell Crowe as a director. Comes Poker Face, another brisk hour-and-a-half film directed by Russell Crowe, starring Russell Crowe, screenplay in part by Russell Crowe. So it's the Russell
Crowe wrote a pretty good movie that none of you have seen called The Water Diviner. That was I believe that was his directorial debut, and that was about a father. I don't want to say because I might get it wrong, but it's about an Australian father who showed up in the aftermath of the Battle of Gallipoli, I believe, looking for the remains of his son. And that movie is like, that's an actor's like, that's a guy writing and directing that's a star writing and directing something for him to act in that's different than the types of things they're letting him act in.
Right.
And it works on that level, but it's pretty like not an entertaining movie. It's hard to explain. It's a well-told story, but it's just one of those like, Hollywood. I did all the Hollywood things. Let me spend a little money and do something I care about. This, on the other hand, I'm not sure what this is. Poker Face, a really rich guy. I mean, I guess
let me give you the synopsis here. A tech billionaire hosts a high-stakes poker game between friends, but the evening takes a turn when long-held secrets are revealed, an elaborate revenge plot unfolds, and thieves break in.
And this is another 90-minute movie. It's got all that stuff in it. It has a really weird opening scene that takes a long time, where Crowe's main character goes to visit his shaman, basically, to get his blessing for this little exercise that he's going to put his pals through. And it's just too much. Like if this movie could have stuck to one premise or another, if it could have been you're all sequestered into this, out in the middle of nowhere thing, and you got to play poker basically for your own futures, that would have been something. But there's very little poker in it. For all the cards that are featured in the artwork and stuff, there's very little poker in it, and therefore poker doesn't make a very good metaphor. But poker doesn't even have to be a metaphor. Poker can be the whole damn story if you want to name your film Poker Face. And if you want to have this really long, elaborate setup heading towards a poker game that then becomes a hostage movie during an art heist by people that we haven't met till they show up at the house halfway through the movie. And also have a personal grudge or whatever. It just gets messy and complicated. I'm not going to say incoherent mess, but this film really does have that. What was this film trying to be? It turns the tables on you from a plot standpoint way too many times. And even by the end, you're like, wow, what? I won't ruin the ending for you. It did make me go, wow, but not in a good way.
Yep.
But it's better on the whole than Misfits, which tells a very, very similar story. Crowe is just a better actor and digs deeper than Brosnan does. I know Brosnan is capable of being great, but Misfits doesn't want that from him. Crowe trying to get to something. His friends could have been interesting, but they're not really allowed to be. You don't have time enough to spend with them. His kid is in and out of the story too quick. The art thieves are sort of comical, but they don't make you laugh. So, and it's not, for what it is, it's not anywhere near brutal enough, and it's not fun enough to be a comedy or a satire. So it just misses all the marks. It sucks. The premise is great. The premise is great. It makes you kind of want to watch it, but it doesn't do it. Doesn't get there.
All right. Up next is Breaking with John Boyega and Michael K. Williams.
Yeah, I believe this will be Michael K. Williams' final film in release anyway. I'm not sure where it was made. He plays a hostage negotiator. John Boyega plays a veteran who has had his disability checks or his pension checks dry up due to a technicality, and he is holding a bunch of people in a bank hostage to get his message out. He's not trying to rob the bank. Don't really want to hurt anybody, but expects the cops to show up and does not expect to live through the experience. Boyega is fantastic in it. As this, these guys, it's fun for an actor to play, but sometimes it looks like it's going to be fun and they just can't do it. The character dancing on a, pinpoint role. It's a challenge and it's great and you're in almost every scene, but it's, it's a challenge because it's hard to keep that believable and keep that grounded in believability. This film requires that, and John definitely delivers. It's as good as I've seen him in anything. In fact, I'll go so far as it is flat out the best I've seen him in anything. And Williams is, so that's the recommending point. Williams obviously is fantastic. The two of them bond together, but this situation is made for hostage situations like this. It's made for SWAT teams and snipers, man. It's not made for two guys talking it out. And that's right. So you can kind of see what's coming. That doesn't make it any less riveting. The two ladies in the bank, his family, it's a tight, tiny little film, but really tense and really well done. It's not a fantastic film, because again, you've seen this exact situation many, 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 many times. But this film, I'm happy to say, absolutely gets the execution right, especially from an acting standpoint.
Well, very cool. Very, very cool. All right. Up next is Emily, the Criminal, Aubrey Plaza. Down on her luck and saddled with debt, Emily gets involved in a credit card scam that pulls her into the criminal underworld of Los Angeles, ultimately leading to deadly consequences.
We had Joel at Aubrey Plaza, by the way, so he's on board. It's funny. This is like a story of never giving up, except in this case, Emily's refusal to back down and refusal to not get up and fight in every situation leads her further and further into the underworld. And essentially, by the end of the thing, well, you can imagine how things turn out. These types of things don't tend to have super happy endings. And when they do, they tend to be more like the Misfits and stuff, which are very good. So Aubrey's fantastic in this, though. Just, it's a kid with a temper who's trying to get her life back in order, trying to make a little money so she can just get by. And she really is, and it has always been, admittedly, the dark side of it, but the dark side of the dark voice of her generation, whether it's in a comedy, whether it's Grumpy Cat Christmas, whatever it is, she embodies that thing. Yep. And at least on screen, she does. I think in life, you can tell she's a totally different breed of cat, like she still is that, but she's like way more than that. This film, though, she's just a normal person. She plays her. It's a really, really, it's like Boyega in the other films. Just really, really well done. You don't believe you don't believe this character can get the best of some of the people that she gets the best of, except she makes you believe it because the script allows for this fact that she comes at you in ways that you don't expect. She keeps on ticking long after you beat her down. You know what I mean? She plays dead and then appears behind you at the worst possible moment. And the whole thing is it's funny because the whole time I'm like, yeah, the whole time. And yet moments later, and this is how you should feel, moments later, I'm like, geez, actually, if she'd have gotten caught there, or if she'd have been sent to the hospital there, like that probably would be the best thing that could happen to her.
Right.
Her able to survive these escalating incidents of the criminal underworld don't serve her or society any good. But we like Breaking Bad. We like those sorts of stories, and that's absolutely what this is. And just this is a really well reviewed movie, and I don't know that, again, it's kind of like Breaking. It's I don't know how great it is. We have seen all this before, but super high marks for execution. And when you're in that crime drama, especially suspense, that's the genre you're in, it's only about execution, because anybody can come up with the next sort of Hitchcockian sort of plot, but you gotta to some degree, you gotta do it almost as good as Hitchcock for it to be worth existing. And these have the same sort of challenges, and Breakings was really good. This is almost extraordinary. So I highly recommend it if it sounds like the kind of thing you wouldn't mind sitting through.
Very cool.
It's a dark tale, no doubt.
Yeah. All right. Up next is The Outfit with Mark Rylance and Zoe Deutsch.
Another basically single location. This could have been a play. It all takes place in this tailor's shop in England, and it's about English crime people. And it's about a lowly tailor who gets wrapped up in a big criminal event, and very much like Emily and Emily the Criminal, cons and talks and lies and hides and everything you can imagine his way to surviving through the end of the story. And watching Rylance do that is a joy. It's just a pure treat. and so, but the film looks like you're going to be seeing some kind of what's the stupid, they're coming up on our list actually, the Gentleman spy movies, what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like the Kingsmen. Kingsmen.
Yeah, its artwork suggests something like that. Its trailer suggests there's more scope to it, but it's just, the thing you have to understand about it is it's not a murder mystery because we know who did everything. It really is just watching this guy squirm his way out of something we all know the truth about. So that's a hard thing to maintain even for an hour and 40 minutes. The movie does a really, really good job of it.
Yeah.
It's modest, so know that, but the period details are great. The tailor's shop is like a really great old theater set. Everybody looks like $1 million. The accents are fun, the tough talk, the way people turn on each other unexpectedly. I mean, it's got all that in it. It's fun.
Yeah.
And like I said, Rylance as the innocent caught up in this, who it turns out would have made a much smarter and better criminal than most of the rest of these people. It's fun to watch that play out. It's really neat.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I thought I would like that movie. I watched it. This is how you know I thought it would be good, because I put it right after Jurassic World Dominion in my watching thing, because I knew I would need to take a good cinema shower after Dominion, and this is the film I chose to do it. And I absolutely needed that, and this film absolutely delivered. So I may think a little higher of it than some, but I do recommend The Outfit if you like that sort of where the script and the talking is everything.
Yeah,
it's just fun, super fun.
Well, yeah, and Rylance rarely is going to choose a movie that is going to be just sort of paint by numbers. He's going to always have some tweak, some angle that he's going to take on take on something.
I think that's correct, but at some point, all of them, no matter how great they are, Christoph Waltz, these sorts of actors and these sorts of characters, eventually you're not toast to the town. You don't stay that way forever, and you just got to kind of take what comes along to keep. And
that's where I was going. He's such a quirky actor. Is this sort of him, sort of in a standard, not standard, but just like this crime
this really
plot,
isn't.
and then
the movie like that. It's coming up. We'll talk about it when we get
all right. Well, so that was the category of crime stories. We're going to move right along. Got to look at this. We're only 35 minutes in
until we get to the end.
Yeah, man. I know, but I'm just saying we're already at espionage thrillers. Don't burst. All right. Well, let's get a. I
didn't mean to cut you off, but I just feel like. Who knows what's going to happen?
How many times have we we're cruising right along. We're going to have a quick show for y'all. We're going to get out of here, and we're all going to be able to go out and grab a bite of later at Applebee's.
And then somebody throws a banana peel in our path, and it's all over after that.
And then we talk about Gordon 11. This next movie features Jessica Chastain, whom I love. Penelope Cruz, also great. Bing Bing Fan, and Diane Kruger. Love
Diane Kruger.
We also have Lupita Nyong'o. So let's gather all of them together and call them the 355.
Yeah. Why do we call them that? There's some explanation in the movie, but it's not good enough to name your movie 355. What's the new category, Joel? We didn't say that.
Espionage thrillers.
So when people call everything a thriller. They call horror movies thrillers. They call action movies thrillers. They call suspense movies thrillers. They call crime dramas thrillers. They call biographies thrillers.
Awesome.
And they're not wrong. They all are that. But I reserve the term thriller for spy movies, espionage movies, assassin movies, that sort of thing. Tom Clancy movies are thrillers. James Bond movies are thrillers. It's a wide net, but it's not the whole gambit. Everything that's not a comedy is a thriller. Because I find that's not useful. And what we really think of when we think of a thriller, I think, is what we think of when we think of suspense films. But Hitchcock called it suspense. He's the godfather of suspense. I adopt that term for those types of movies. So thriller, where does it go? It goes here to espionage thrillers. All right. And you were saying what? 355. What's the 355? It's a bunch of babes.
It's women. When a top secret weapon falls into mercenary hands, a wild card CIA agent joins forces with 3 international agents on a mission to retrieve it, while staying a step ahead of a mysterious woman who's tracking their every move.
That's nice. I like that. Espionage movies, typically their synopsises basically bring you to the middle of the first act and just leave you there if they're good. Because if they go much further than that, they tell you way too much. And that's what that synopsis does. So well done, whoever wrote that. I enjoyed 355. It's good. I mean, it's at least as good as the hundreds of other things like this that are all about dudes, but it just isn't really any better than that. And that was sad because I wanted it to actually be good. Who directed it?
It is directed by Simon Kinberg.
So there you go.
Simon Kinberg, who brought us such things as he wrote. Let's see, we got Death on the Nile. These are producers. Hold on, we want to.
Yeah, don't look at his producing.
Yeah, he as a writer.
But here, look, he's a writer turned director who's got way too many producing credits, and the reason that is because he's a Hollywood sellout hack. That doesn't mean that everything he does is bad. That's not true. But a lot of things he does are just they're homogenized, test audienced films custom, on a big level that are custom made to please the suits that are writing the checks. And he's never done much of anything, in my opinion, that goes beyond that.
Right.
I think he wrote the original screenplay for Last Action Hero, and that's where he was sort of discovered. That original screenplay was really great, again, until Hollywood got a hold of it. But instead of learning that lesson, he just was like, oh, this is how you get a movie made. So he brought the X-Men franchise to a screeching halt. This film is like that. It's very confident, big-scale storytelling. The action's pretty good. It's got a lot of kinetic energy in it, and these actors in these roles are really, really fun to watch. The things that they care about, but it's way too light on its feet for some of the just brutal, grisly things that happen in it, and it's way too grisly to be entertaining enough to justify such a sort of antiseptic and generic action movie style that Kinberg brings to it. So it's hard. I don't know what it is. I love Diane Kruger and Jessica Chastain, and the rest of the ladies in this I particularly love those two actors. Everyone else though is doing really, really good and giving it their all. And I don't say this when back in the day when whatever, Gerard Butler and all these same, the male equivalents of these types of characters show up in something.
Yeah. Jason
Statham. But they deserve better than just another movie like that, and that's all they got. That's all Kinberg's capable of. I do believe he tries to give us the best movies he can. I don't want to be too hard on him.
Right.
But
he's going to be giving us, as the writer at least, he's going to be giving us the updated Logan's Run, which
we'll see if that happens. I've seen that thing in development for the last 32 years, and we'll see.
Yep.
Good luck.
All right.
Good luck, man. Good luck, Kinberg,
Simon.
Logan's Run. That'll be fun to see.
All right. Next up is one of the world's great Chris's, Chris Pine, in The Contractor.
In The Contractor, he's in 2 of our espionage movies, actually, which is cool.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he's good in both of them, but one definitely has the edge over the other, and the winner is not The Contractor. Sorry.
Not The Contractor.
Contractor's got a cool premise. Again, Pine plays a Chris Pine's a really good actor, and he's really relatable movie star, good-looking dude, and you can slip him into any of these types of roles, and he instantly brings, honorability and integrity and all those things that you want out of a movie star. So I like him, and I show up for him in these types of littler things. He plays, read the synopsis.
The synopsis is come on, computer. There we go. A discharged U.S. Special Forces Sergeant, James Harper, risks everything for his family when he joins a private contracting organization.
Soldier who, because something went wrong, was discharged from the military, needs the money, served with a guy played brilliantly as always by Ben Foster. Ben's a bit of an overactor, but man, what an overactor he is. He's so great. He's so great. And he actually really plays this one low and down to the bone, which is really neat to see. And of course, Chris and Ben played brothers in the vastly superior Hell and High Water. But so there's history between them, and that's very much alive and happening right on the screen in front of you. When they're on screen together, it's a delight. And they did it to work together, and pretty big budget, traveling to Europe. There's a lot going on here, decent action. Contractor's not a total dud or anything, but it's the same as I said with the ladies in the 355. These guys deserve a better movie than this. We've literally seen them in a better movie than this and seen how awesome they are. And at a certain point, you just can feel it. The best moment in the movie is also kind of the worst because the movie doesn't earn it and makes it feel like it's not worth it. And that's a bummer. And the justice doled out at the end of so much complicated betrayal is just too simple to be satisfying almost. So you put a guy in an impossible situation, and how does he climb back out of it? Movies like, God damn it. Remember when I used to remember what effing things were called?
I do. And, but I don't remember
used to
how
call
long
me in the
ago that
middle
was.
of the night. Ryan, what's that song with that dude in it? What's that thing that does this? I was literally like Google for hundreds of people. Now, it's just not there. Granted, the movie I'm thinking of has a pretty generic, can't remember it title. It's by Tony Scott, had Will Smith in it. This guy has his whole life basically just completely unraveled in every way it can.
Oh, yeah.
And that movie finds a way, a very clever way, but a very clever way for him to put the pieces back. You have to be able to do that. Film like The Firm, where it doesn't even follow the book. It wants to give you something of a happy ending, as much as one of it as it can muster. So it has to figure out a way out, and it's got to be smart about that. This movie, it definitely puts him in a bad spot where you feel like they're too powerful. You'll never get out. You can never see your family again. All this stuff. And it's just like, and the way he solves it is with brute nonsense, and that relies on the stupidity of his enemies, which we've been told the whole movie are so tied in and brilliant. And this is a frustrating film because it wasn't bad at all from a character standpoint, again, from an acting standpoint, and even from an action standpoint, it's pretty good. But you failed the believability test. I get that it's hard, but the script, it just didn't try hard enough. It's really frustrating to me. I like when this kind of movie's slightly smarter than me, and I don't consider myself super smart, and I just feel like you got to beat me at that game, or all is lost, which that's the case with this film.
So I'm just real quick trying to find that movie. It was called, I believe,
got a pretty generic name.
I believe it was called Hitch. No, I believe it was called Enemy of the State.
Hey, I remember.
There it is.
At the last minute. Enemy of the State. That's actually a good title for it.
That's a solid title. All right. Next up is, after The Contractor, is James Norton, Gemma Arterton, Rogue Agent. What?
Rogue Agent, man. Go ahead, read the thing. Okay. Read the thing.
All right.
The thing.
The extraordinary and chilling story of career con man Robert Freegard, who masqueraded as an MI5 agent and fooled people into going into hiding, and the woman who fell for him.
Stop. Way too much. I shouldn't have had you read that. If I'd have known it said all that, it shouldn't even be an espionage thriller. It's basically a con game movie, but you don't know that till 3/4 of the way in, or you know it. You all know it now because we read the stupid synopsis. Not your fault, Joel. That was a terrible synopsis. It is based on the incredible true story. If you want to trot that back,
based on the incredible true story.
This guy's still out there, so look out, ladies. He got out. He went to prison, but got on a technicality. Since we've ruined the whole movie, why not just tell you the real thing that happened? Norton and Gemma Arterton are really, really good performers. They're both in a lot of terrible things because they both do a lot of British comedies and stuff, and some of those are I don't mind saying they're awful.
Yeah,
there's a certain kind of British comedy. I'm not sure. I didn't get to many of them this year, but it's hard to explain what they are. But they're like Love Actually.
Yeah.
That kind. They all suck. These two guys are in a bunch of those, so whatever. Okay. And women don't. English women don't seem to like Gemma Arterton. They seem to resent her a lot. Like she was an it girl for a while that they all turned on, and yet she sort of maintained her dignity throughout that process. And now it's like they can't look away. They have to watch her. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's weird. It's like like old angry Republican ladies have to tune in to see the Barbara Walters interview with Michelle Obama just because they just have to. Yeah. And even though they don't like her or don't believe in the same things as her, they find themselves just commenting on what she's wearing and getting all into the minutia of her, because that's what these types of people do. And no offense to you if you like Love Actually, but that's what that audience is supposed to be. You like all the little bits and pieces, because if you think about what it is as a whole, it's just a big lot of superficial, smug nonsense that is talking down to you in the worst possible way, in an almost worse than reality television type of way. Because it's just because at least reality television is like, oh, look, a bunch of sluts on a date with the same guy. So watch that. We'll all be terrible people, but we'll wake up in the morning and we won't be as bad as those guys. So who cares? Those sorts of films, they trick you into thinking that they're clever, that they're good, or that they have some sort of artistic merit. And it's their sneakiness that I believe I resent most of all. So getting back to Rogue Agent. Rogue
Agent.
Sorry, I'm not going to talk about things I hate, but I had to sit through whatever the F it was, the 20th anniversary of Love Actually, watch everybody tripping over themselves, talking, it's my favorite band. And I just, every time, man, I'm just like, I got to get it out. So there you go. And I think I was measured in my criticism of it, right? I used my words.
Sure. You used words, yes. It wasn't just a fiery wordless. Yeah, you didn't yelp into the void. But no, it's good.
Rogue Agent is awesome. It's everything those types of movies are not. It plays on
where I thought this was going.
It plays on Norton's like seductive skills, and it plays on Gemma's like sort of crusty exterior that she's earned by all this stuff. But the journey she goes on breaks her down. And like there's this way that you can't. It's hard to explain, but we all know that person, you're tough as nails or whatever, and it's really interesting watching a person like that realize that they're not. And not because they're smacked down in any sort of way, but just because they're like just deconstructed right in front of you. And they realize that their whole life's been sort of railing against things like Love Actually, like I just did. And when the real stuff comes down, they find themselves capable of really carrying, first of all, which is important, human characteristic, and being brave enough to take action. It's extraordinary performance by her, and Norton is equally extraordinary. He's got a little easier role, but it's extraordinary. And the other victims of this guy that we get to know in this movie, one in particular, who at least this part I won't ruin for you, so you'll have a reason to see the film. God, one in particular, she just broke my heart on screen, truly. And it being brainwashed is a thing that really happens. It happens to all of us in little ways. It happens to big masses of us in huge ways. And when it happens to you entirely, that loss of self, the loss of will, it's extraordinary, because somewhere inside you know it's all wrong, and yet that fact that thing in your mind that's been broken fights against that reality tooth and nail. It's a tough thing to watch, and this film, it pulls no punches showing us that, and it's very, very believable how it's portrayed on screen. It's not a very flashy movie, it's not a big budget movie or anything like that, but the dilemma at the heart of it is twisted and terrible, and it had to be put to a stop. And I thought Rogue Agent I thought would be good, because little British movie. I mean, why would they even make it if there's not a story here to tell?
Right.
I wasn't impressed with the movie so much as I was really blown over by the story. So, and that's as far as true crime stories. They don't do that. They do the other thing. They go for they sensationalize everything, and And I hate that. It's not that I'm not interested in this sort of thing, but I don't like. I don't like it being sport. People
Right.
suffering, serial killers. You know what I mean? Like the Dahmer thing that we all just went through. Those people's parents are still alive and are very deeply resentful of that project. So that doesn't mean it's not well done or well acted or there aren't certain things that are good about it. But that way we barrel forward into true crime and real history and all that stuff without care so much for those folks. And we'll talk more about this going forward when we really get to based on incredible true story. I called this an espionage thriller because that's what it pretends to be for the first 40 minutes.
Right. But in reality,
and it's kind of amazing. So it's worth your time.
It is
based on the incredible true story.
All right. Next up is Allison Janney, Journey Smollett, and Lou.
Netflix's Lou. This movie's the opposite. This movie you don't think is a espionage film until you're well into it. So that's a spoiler right there. This is like a kidnapping movie. Psycho dad out in the boondocks kidnaps his daughter, and town weirdo played by title character Lou, played by
Allison Janney.
Thanks. Is recruited to help his mother, Smollett's character, get her kid back. And in the early goings, when you don't know what's going on, I thought it was fantastic. I thought as all the explanations and all the talking and all the relationships were revealed, it is a case, and a lot of movies are like this. It's a case of each successive reveal diminishes what goes before it.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, Lou's not a bad movie by any means, and it's not that those constant twists you might like those, and then in which case you're in for a treat because it's certainly well acted. It's all raining the whole time. It's really moody and cool. But that's a very real phenomena to me, where it's like, each thing is like, this is now, like the longer a TV show goes on, it's like how many marriages does the commander of Babylon 5 have to have, and how many of them do we have to be surprised about well into them? It's like, it's a rabbit, like the third rabbit out of the hat is like, it's just another rabbit. Who gives an F about that? And that's kind of how I felt about Lou, but it's certainly cool. There's a lot of talk about Toto in it, which I approve of because I'm a big Toto fan. I'm a big Toto fan. One of my favorite Toto songs is Mr. Friendly. Do you know that one? Well, then you're not a Toto fan, so just shut the hell up. Mr. I Only Know Africa.
I was just going to say, based upon the trailer that I'm watching, the rains were not. They did not. The rains came from Africa, and they certainly needed to bless them here. There's lots of rain in this trailer and stuff for Lou.
Not following you, but thanks for trying.
Don't worry about it. Just tried.
Africa actually is the song that's featured in, so it's not Mr. Friendly, nor could it ever have been, or Girl Goodbye, or any of the Toto deep cuts that Ryan's super into. I'm an actual Toto fan. Matter of fact, I'm a bigger Toto fan than the dude in the movie who claims to be a super fan. So I guess maybe that's bad.
That shocks me not at all. That shocks me not at all.
Hold the Line is also in it, so that's cool. Africa and Hold the Line, they're almost like two different bands. So
yep,
it's cool.
Solid song though too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Lou. That's Lou. Next up is All the Old Knives. Now this is our second Chris Pine film in this category, but this is Chris Pine with a beard and turtleneck and peacoat.
And it is, compared to The Contractor, where he's the American everyman, this guy is a suave, very much, it's still Chris Pine, so he's still got a little bit of that twinkle in his eye, obviously. But this guy's a very quiet, suave, like Le Carre type of leading man. And and it's all the movie's all he feels a little bit out of place in it, but he's a game actor and does a really nice job with the character. Dandy Newton is incredible in it. And who's the grizzled old character actor that carries this?
That would probably be Lawrence Fishburne, or there's Jonathan Pryce.
Both are really really good in it.
Yeah.
Fishburne less so, because he's just brought in to order people around, but Price is extraordinary in it, as you'd expect. Although Price, he'll sell his soul for a paycheck too. And he's showing up in a bunch of junk. He's in both G.I. Joe movies as the president. So I'm not whatever, dude. I'm not. He needs to have a jacuzzi just like everybody else. But I just saying, he's great in this. Standy's great in it. A lot of talk, not a lot of shootouts. There's some history. There's this weird jet hijacking that you see in bits and pieces. It reveals itself as to what happened as the thing goes on that happened in the past. But it really is, it's not as good as a Le Carré movie. A few things are, but it has that sort of, this guy is thinking his way through this, and he's threatening and cajoling and talking his way to the truth amongst these people, one of whom he used to be in love with, another whom used to mentor him. And it works good. Pine's commanding in the role. Like I said, it's not an ideal role for him, but he's great in it. And it's the real whatever spies or real government agents whose biggest job that they do really is collect people who actually do the spying for them. That's what spying actually is. And that gets very, very complicated emotionally, ethically, morally. And I like when a film examines that stuff, where it has a neat story that, it's a story that's so good that I don't even care. Like, I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm letting it wash over me. And that's what All the Old Knives is. It's not great cinema or anything, but it's really, really strong. If that sort of thing is what you like, the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy side of spy novels. It's nowhere near that level. Tinker Tailor is all-time classic, but I love that that's what it's going for, and the fact that it kind of gets us halfway there is really impressive considering they started from scratch.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Up next is a movie that threw its hat in the ring to have the best looking cast of any movie.
Better than Penelope Cruz and Diane Kruger and Jessica Chastain.
Well, I'm just saying they threw their hat in there because you have Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. And then Ana de Armas.
That's what you're into.
If that is what you're into, I'm just saying that's a good looking cast. Yeah. So, but and this movie is The Gray Man. No, it's The Gray Man.
Did you see this?
I did not see The Gray Man.
See, the Gosling and Evans made a movie together that cost $120 billion by the guys who brought you the last two hugest Avengers movies.
The Russos. Yeah,
and even you didn't bother to check it out for free, and you could have this entire time. So that's the problem with The Gray Man. But the great thing about it, it's also kind of the great thing about it. It's like you know what I mean? The problem with it is people couldn't be bothered. Which I kind of think is crazy, but they couldn't be bothered because it's not what you think. It's not really crowd pleasing. Yeah, it is in some ways. Gosling, the very soft-spoken Gosling, it's superficial performance by him because we've seen him do amazing things on film. And this, he does the same, but you can tell it's a bit of a vacation movie for him. That doesn't mean he doesn't bring the performance. It just means the performance that's required of him is a little bit comfy. But he's got a whole section of the movie where he's got to protect a plucky little girl from assassins, and she mouths off to him, and they have a fun relationship. Like, that's great stuff, right? We all like that kind of thing. Evans plays this despicable, I'm only in it for the money and will kill anyone for any price guy who you just hate by the end of the movie. But again, you hate him in a pretty superficial way. I don't know what the Russo brothers are doing. I really don't. I mean, they did. Won't they let them make any more Marvel movies, or do they just want to prove they can do other kinds of movies?
No, I think that was exactly what this was. A hey, can we, we did your giant,
No,
Endgame,
that was their previous movie with Spider-Man. What was the war movie with the two kids who get all addicted to drugs and stuff? Everyone hated that movie, even me. I thought it was okay, but I just hated it. I don't like going through that story. That movie was for no one. That was, we're going to do our own thing. We got the clout. We can make anything we want. Here it is.
Right.
This was like running home to mama. Here's a big glitzy spy shoot 'em up with a helicopter chase and all this stuff. Tons of money, two big stars. And it just came out on streaming to die and to be meaningless. And it will never be on a home video format other than Netflix exclusive. And people didn't really watch it and don't care about it. And I'm like, if you're, there's this Louisiana band called LaRue, and they put out this album. It was their last album, where it was like the record company was like, you better have a hit or you're done. And so they made this album that sounds basically just like Journey. And the opening song has this line in it. It's called "The Way You Walk Makes Me Wish That I Was Every Sidewalk in Town." And when I listen to it, I go, this is kind of terrible for this, what used to be this sort of Cajun funk, rock band. Yeah. Now they're just this slick AOR corporate rock with these ridiculous lines. And yet you can't hate them when they're trying so hard to please.
Yeah.
Like that. You know what I mean? And that's how I felt when I was watching Gray Man. It was very entertaining. It was much smarter than things of its ilk. But it's almost like it's also bland enough that it almost deserves to be unrecognized, which it pretty much was. So I don't know how I feel about it. It's worth your time. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm telling Joel, Gosling and Evans and Russo's weren't enough to make you show up on day one. Then what's the point of a movie like that?
It's weird because it's a movie that was released in July on Netflix. Like, were they expecting a event summer movie of people going, I'm going to stay home and watch and have this event, a summer blockbuster at home? So I'm just, it is a weird.
What was the other big blockbuster, the Amazon blockbuster with that Paramount sold them with Chris Pratt, where they travel into the future? And
the Tomorrow War, is that what that one was?
It's better than that, but it's the same phenomena as that. This massive thing that cost every bit as much money as Top Gun Maverick did, that just absolutely, that a bunch of people watched, and yet that absolutely has no place to stick in the history of movies. It's a weird streaming anomaly like that. It's nothing anywhere near as good as the movies that got released in theaters. So it feels like it's a second-class citizen, even though for a streaming event movie, it's super high class and entertaining. But what is it? I still feel like I don't know what to do with films like that. So,
right.
And obviously you don't either. You didn't even watch it. I mean, I bet you a lot of people listening here, they may not even have heard of it.
Right.
And there was a time where you put those two stars with the filmmakers with that pedigree. I don't think the Russos are very good filmmakers. I think they're decent enough storytellers. Their films are bland and crappy. Like, they're not, again, even compared to what else I just ripping on, Jurassic World Dominion, that felt like it was made by somebody who understands at least, the feel and look of a thing, and how, what an event movie should be. This movie feels like a TV comedy with a really, really big budget. And that's what all their crap feels like to me. So that other film, whose name I can't remember, with
Cherry.
Yeah, Cherry.
Mm-hmm. With Tom
same
Holland,
thing.
yeah.
I mean, that movie like was checking all the boxes. It's glum, it's gray, it's saturated, the lighting is dim, but it's still that alone isn't style. Something internal has to create that on screen. It doesn't matter. There's place for great storytellers and good writers, which they are, and they can keep making stuff. I like Gray Man, but so I hate to level all this criticism on them or blame them for the streaming void that these things slip into. It's not the Gray Man's fault. Gray Man was fun. People should have watched it. And they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't.
So I don't know what to say. Weird.
Well, dear listener, were you thrilled with that thriller category? Yeah.
Remember when we were at 47 minutes and we're like, we're doing awesome, and I was like, well, I haven't started talking about Love Actually yet. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, we're still in great shape. We're still.
I didn't know I was going to talk about Love Actually, to be fair, but it just came.
No, it was delightful, only to be topped by what you actually said about Rogue Agent, because that's not where I thought this was going, and that is going to be the thing that I feed on for the rest of the night.
Rogue Agent's really good.
Well, yeah, and that's not where I thought after the rant on Love Actually, you were going to be like. And that's what Rogue Agent has ended up.
Yeah, it just shows you those Love Actually type people can make awesome work too when they I'm with you now. Give a shit about people. I know I'm a little biased. I don't like we're going through an era where we're irreverent to the point of destruction and to the point of not caring, and we're chasing down things that we know we won't have to care about, so we can just escape life for a little while. And I do that. I absolutely do that just as much as anybody. Truly. Wait till the next episode when I give you the only decent Fantastic Beast review in the history of America. You'll see. Well, yeah. I like to be dazzled and escape too. But just I hate things that don't mean anything, and I hate things where I don't know. And to me, it's not all Love Actually's fault, but that's such a celebrated film, and it's such a vacuous, pandering piece of junk.
Yes, it's so weirdly celebrated and loved. Actually,
right?
All right.
I don't bitch about Four Weddings and a Funeral because I felt like that movie's praise was commensurate with its quality, which is a film by the same people that also don't like. But I don't have to climb up on a what do you call that? Soapbox.
A soapbox, yes. All right. Well, next category. We're sort of staying in the same vein. We are very much in a channel here of thrillers and espionage.
Yeah.
And now we are going to go with old-fashioned suspense.
I warned you the suspense was coming. So you can call everything on this list a thriller, essentially.
Yeah.
That was by design.
And I will say, I mean, you saying that the suspense was coming upped the suspense of the episode.
Did it?
I think so. I think
thanks,
so.
Man.
I mean, yeah. All right, up first.
Hey, Russos, you're quadrillionaires and you get to make movies, and I got to sit here on a podcast that 120 people watch. So, hey, you're living the dream. Don't listen to me.
Yep. Yeah.
Keep churning them out, baby. All I have is my opinion, unfortunately.
We have Steven Soderbergh made another film.
Did he?
Yep, this one is with Zoe Kravitz. Yeah, this is with Zoe Kravitz, and it is called Kimmy.
Soderbergh gets the suspense film. He's made some really good ones that went over like a thud. There was the one with Rooney Mara and Channing Tatum and Jude Law and Catherine Zeta-Jones, who were all in a suspense film together that was really, really strong and that got really good audience reviews, and that came out and nobody saw it, by Steven Soderbergh. I don't have that one right in front of me, so maybe Joel will look it up for us.
I will quickly look here, and I'm going to guess that one was called...
It's got a short title if memory serves.
Why are you?
And right on the poster, it's by the man who brought you Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 12.
Yeah,
that's what you get, dude, for making those. He made those so they would let him make other things, but
yeah.
But I mean, now you're always going to be the maker of Ocean's 12, since that was one of your movies that actually made money.
She's trying to see it. It's Logan's. Let me see.
He made that great crime movie last year with Benicio and all those people in it. Soderbergh's he's an artist.
The Laundromat, High Flying Bird. Why have I not? Why haven't not a Mosaic? That's TV. Boy, a lot of stuff here. Obviously Behind the Candelabra, Side Effects, Magic
Behind
Mike.
the Candelabra is so good. Check that out, Liberace fans and non-Liberace fans alike. That's a great movie. That's Ryan Murphy. Format. Check that out, Shonda Rhimes. That's what a proper biopic is, folks.
Ocean's 13.
Good gravy.
Ocean's 12. Well, I'm trying to
be this hard.
It
has a pretty really short, weird. Generic title, which is why I can't think of it. But.
Yeah, I'm literally just reading down. Kimmy, No Sudden Move, Let Them All Talk, Laundromat, High Flying Bird, Your Life as a Spy, Unsane, Logan Lucky.
Logan Lucky's great too, and that's a comedy heist movie. That's fun.
Side Effects.
Hey, there you go. Side Effects. Thanks.
Is it called Side?
It is called Side Effects.
Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, I clicked on it and I'm seeing Jude Law here. Yep.
Yeah, and you didn't get all the way back to Sex, Lies, and Videotape before we realized we'd skipped past it. Yeah. So look, Soderbergh is interested in form. He was the guy who very famously, was on a call with Matt Damon and was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna quit directing movies, I think." And Damon's like, "I just did, Hereafter with Clint Eastwood. I mean, he's 92 or whatever, and he's still making movies." And Soderbergh wisely said, "Yeah, Eastwood's a storyteller, though. I'm an artist." And he didn't mean it like I'm an artist and Eastwood's not an artist. What he meant was, I'm interested in the form of the thing, and I'm running out of template to do, of form to explore. I've made all these different kinds of movies, and I'm interested in form the way an artist is. I'm not so much interested in telling you the next story, and if the story's good, this is not my way into the thing. And Matt said, "Well, then screw you." No, I don't know what he said. I'm sure he said, "Best of luck to you," or whatever. They're still friends, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, he comes at it from that point of view, and I always like filmmakers like that, because despite the fact that they all seem to find their way into an abysmal abyss of like film negativity, like Ocean's 12 is genuinely one of the worst movies made in the last 100 years. Ocean's 11 is tolerable for what it is. Ocean's 12 is an embarrassment to everyone involved. They all owe us all an apology for it. It's that bad. It's that bad. Twice as bad as Love Actually. Because at least the guy who made Love Actually was proud of himself. You didn't feel the shame and the stink of selling out all over him when you and unfortunately it's not Soderbergh who sold out. It's all of them. Clooney, Pitt, Roberts, everyone who's involved in that thing just brought their Z game and delivered an absolute pig turd of a film to the world. That said, Soderbergh typically aces. He takes chances. When he does do something conventional like Side Effects, thank you, Joel. I was way more work than I thought, or I wouldn't have asked.
I had no idea that it would be, but yeah.
Well, it shows you how busy he's been since then. I view that as one of his more recent movies. He's done a lot of stuff. He just does a really, really good job because he cares about the form, and so he cares about making art out of these conventional styles of film. Kimmy, read the synopsis.
Kimmy is about an agoraphobic Seattle tech worker who uncovers evidence of a crime
and has to grow a pair and go out in the world to if she has any chance of either solving it or preventing another one. The agoraphobia is played pretty well. Zoe Kravitz, really good actor, and she does a nice job with this. Just again, one of these little claustrophobic thriller roles where you're basically in every scene and you have to carry the thing. Her relationships are complicated. everything in her life is a mess, but at least it's her mess in her space where she's safe in this very, very secure fortress of an apartment that she has, that she knows backwards and forwards, which comes in really, really handy during the showdown at the end. We've all seen that. So again, nothing you really haven't seen before, but a decent story there's a really exciting, disorienting foot chase. And again, a very clever way to tell a simple story during the COVID era. That it is that kind of movie. It's a COVID era movie, truly. She's a work at home person who's great at her job, and her people love her for it, but she asks too many questions. And when it comes time to follow up and have a meeting with somebody, she doesn't want to leave her home, doesn't want to give her whole name, that sort of thing. I dug it. It's fun way to pass the time. Not a great film, though. Certainly not great Soderbergh film, even. The last one he did, the one Joel rattled the name off of a little ways back that we talked about last year, that period crime thriller, that was a fantastic film.
Yes, and that movie was called again, thank you for giving me his producing credits.
That's what he has the most of. That's all IMDb cares about.
That would have been
it's not the worst way to
no sudden move.
No sudden moves. Yeah, really good. If you're gonna dive into Soderbergh, I strong that one again. That one has the too many twists phenomena we talked about, but that one is so joyful in the writing and so dark and twisted, and it's just got everybody doing their best to tell an interesting story. So this movie, same but much smaller, straight to video, straight to Hulu or whatever. Much more modest thrills from it.
Okay. All right. Next up is a absolute, sounds like a laugh riot of a film called No Exit. It is during a blizzard and stranded at an isolated highway rest stop in the mountains, a college student discovers a kidnapped child hidden in a car belonging to one of the people inside.
Great snowy single location ensemble thriller. The first hour and change of it is fantastic. It also suffers from everybody's related, everybody's connected. When the reveals start coming out, they just are like, they make the thing more and more unbelievable as they go, and that's not what they should be doing, if that makes any sense. So this film absolutely suffers from that. But this film is by a bunch of new people. You know what I mean? Like, they told a fun, atmospheric story. It's not Soderbergh we're talking about now. It's not those sorts of folks. So I admired it, and I look forward to what they do next. It's a suspense movie. You got to stick the landing,
Yeah.
You really do. Or you got to have something in the second act that just blows your mind, so you don't much care that the ending was unsatisfying. We've talked about how horror movies pull that off all the time. Hard to have the great ending to a horror movie. It's tough.
Right.
But that's not what it takes to be memorable. You just got to have that one thing that you did better, or that you did different than everybody else, and your horror movie goes down in the annals of being wonderful for some reason. Well, with suspense, though, it's all about following the rules but subverting the rules. It's a challenge, and this movie comes up short, unfortunately. But it's a lot. There's still a lot to like here, so I don't want to tear these guys down. They're just getting started.
Sure. All right. Next up is Deep Water with Ben Affleck. Hey, and Ana de Armas is back.
I think it was back in season 2 where we did a preview for Deep Water.
Oh, that might have been.
I mean, I was like forever ago where we're like, "Ooh, it's coming up." I mean, it was pre-COVID. This is a pre-COVID movie that waited till post-COVID to come out, and then it didn't even get a theatrical release. It just came out on Hulu. If it had come out on Hulu during COVID, they might have had something. Instead, it came out way after, when everyone started releasing movies again. This, however, gets it. This film was not liked by people. I don't know why. But I suspect for cult of personality reasons, because I don't know why you wouldn't like it, except that maybe the people in it aren't very likable. But that's a common staple of these sorts of films. Everybody deserves what's coming to them, and maybe people don't even get it. I think that, again, I think people have been ruined by CSI Miami and stuff, all that cheap justice that gets doled out on TV. It's all cheap and easy, man. You told a lie in an interview, you get the book thrown at you. That's not how the world works. You don't hang up, like, you don't send some hooker who lied to you in the first place to prison just to satisfy the people at home. It's not how the world works. You just don't bother with that. This movie, these people are weird and complicated and eccentric. The things that get them off are twisted and bizarre, and their relationships with each other are much more codependent than anything we would define as love. People are judgy. People are always trying to get the upper hand on each other, even if there's no purpose served by doing so. People are lying behind each other's back. But this film gets the format. The crimes that happen here are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The way they happen are bizarre. The cat and mouse trying to cover them up is fun. I'll just say it, to watch play out. And people act inconsistently because sometimes that's what people do. And people with deep psychosis really super act inconsistently. And that's what this film delivers. This was directed by a master of the genre, Adrian Lyne. Mm-hmm. And he's made some of our favorites. He made our favorite low budget horror movie, and with Tim Robbins, coming back from the war. I can't remember what that's called.
Jacob's Ladder. Yep, Jacob's Ladder.
Made Flashdance, made Fatal Attraction. So I mean, this guy's made these sorts of movies. Made the one "I'll give you $1 million to sleep with your wife" movie. Stupid movie.
The Indecent Proposal.
That's right.
At least I got that title. Sticking into my head, but I can't remember the Steven Soderbergh movie we talked about last year. No, but I can't remember the Soderbergh movie from last year. So
I'll give you $1 million to sleep with. My favorite. The only reason I'm okay with Indecent Proposal even existing is because it got us Saturday Night Live's Ignorant Proposal, which is one of the funniest film parodies that has ever been on, where Billy D. Williams is going to give Chris Rock $100 and Chris gets to pull out his catchphrase, $100. Oh my God, it's funny.
Here's what I'll say: we don't talk about like taglines. Very rarely do we bust out the taglines of movies,
but they're fun.
But I really like this one, and I dig it. And this tagline is enough to make me kind of go, "Oh, I'm intrigued." The love story is never the whole story. I just like it. It's so simple, but it's like, oh, that's really great.
And we didn't read a synopsis, and actually with a tagline like that, you don't need to. That tells the whole story. No pun intended. So, look, Deep Water is just not going to be for everybody. I don't think it's for modern audiences. It's for people who used to like watching these things with these weird, complicated folks in it. It doesn't have the weight or the baggage in it that a true crime story has, and yet it pokes all the little dark, dirty parts of yourself that you go to for that sort of thing, but it does it in a safe, cool, fictional world, and I actually appreciated it quite a bit. So, there you go.
Yeah, very cool. Next up,
Affleck, and he's outstanding. And Anna, it's a complicated role, and Ana de Armas great in it. Who's the guy? The character actor is so good.
Tracy Letts.
Tracy Letts, thank you. Tracy Letts as the nosy, judgy neighbor is fantastic in it. So that stuff is fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. All right. Remember that part in Downton Abbey when Lord Grantham becomes kind of all creepy and stalky and
I do remember that.
Yeah, and they decided,
maybe you're thinking of something else, Joel.
Well, I was gonna say, and then they decided that it was so awesome they were gonna spin it off. And it's a movie called I Came By, with Hugh Bonneville and
George
Antonio
McKay.
Akil. And
is that right? George McKay's the guy in it.
Here we go. It's in looks like it's in appearance order. Um,
Or alphabetical. And you really got to scroll down to find them.
Oh, yeah. Well, Antonio Akil, Hugh Bonneville, Purcell Ascot. Right. Let's see. I'm trying to look here. I don't think we're looking for the vlogger.
George, who we just talked about in Munich, and then with the thing after it, with the
Munich Edge, like the Edge of War. It is George McKay.
Yeah. It is George McKay. Thanks. He was great
in alphabetical in order. Yeah.
In Munich, the Edge of War. He's not so great in this, but this movie is silly suspense movies. Now, here we are. We're in that category. So, what do you expect? I didn't like this one as much as Deep Water, but it was pretty good. Like, I see the appeal. This is a free Netflix movie. It came out kind of in October in horror movie season. It has a very horror movie looking poster, and it is nothing like a horror movie. It's a crime story that devolves into something much uglier and spookier. But the film has a real force of will to it that gets it from one thing to the next. And Bonneville plays a retired judge who gets wrapped up in the lives of these sort of petty criminals and graffiti artists. And it turns out that, I don't know, there's more than meets the eye. You really can't talk about what this movie's about. That's just wrecking it. So I'll just leave it at that. It's decent. It's not great. If you like this kind of thing, I recommend it. If you don't, I super don't, because it really does sort of follow the formula. But I don't think you guys will see all the twists coming, and that's fun. And the twists in this particular film do not wear out their welcome. They earn them. They're few, but they work.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Next up is a movie that made by Michael Scott, the person Michael Scott deemed a wunderkind in The Office. No, it's BJ Novak from who everyone knows from The Office. But BJ Novak directed, written, and wrote and stars in Vengeance.
Story by a writer, starring as the writer, about how writing solves everything.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, or does it?
Or does it?
Read the premise.
Yep. A writer from New York City attempts to solve the murder of a girl he hooked up with and travels down south to investigate the circumstances of her death and discover what happened to her. That's a little muddled, but that works.
Yeah, but it's a suspense movie. The plot is everything, and the way they move through it. Of course, with Vengeance, there's more to it. It's got Novak's wit and his just eviscerating, and yet the character who played on The Office is the perfect example. He eviscerates that sort of culture, that way of talking, that way of just making up your whole life. It's a fraudulent existence. And he just plays this bloggy guy who writes for this thing that is read by people that are this, that just like that kind of crap. And it opens at a cocktail party on a roof in Manhattan, where him and this other douche nozzle are having this conversation that just makes you, I don't have any hair anymore, but just makes you want to pull your hair out. It's so obnoxious, but it's delightfully obnoxious. I mean, that you just have to buy into that. What's surprising about the movie, because the culture clash, the New York blogger, full of himself asshole, goes to Texas to solve a crime amongst all these, moron country folk. It is that, and yet it actually gets very cleverly, almost too cleverly. The whole thing's too clever and too pleased with itself. But that's not a crime if you are really, really clever and pleasing. And when the film is, I watched it so that I could talk about it, but I was stunned by how much I enjoyed it in the end, because it probes deeper than you think, and it does it in the ways that really matter. It does it in between lines, and and yet it's hilarious. I mean, it's really, really funny, and it's full of really crazy, funny performances. And it's as a crime drama where you're investigating crime, it's nothing like what you expect.
Yeah.
Which is also that's a feather in a film like This cap. So Novak, to me, kind of hit it out of the park, even though we haven't trotted out smugness as like a quality to be desired on the show yet this year.
Sure.
This is a case where he gets it that he's smug. It's like there's that line in The West Wing when they're setting Martin Sheen up for that debate with Josh Brolin's character, or sorry, James Brolin's character, and he right out of the gate he corrects his he says there's 3 words for that, and he actually says 5 words. And right out of the gate he corrects him, and they're like, should he be doing that? That's people don't like that sort of thing. And Bradley Whitford explains, he's behind the scenes at the debate, he says, no, the whole world knows he's an obnoxious know-it-all. We just lean into that for fun, and we typically don't get punished for it. And that's what this is. He absolutely leans into that persona. But there's an artist and a storyteller and a writer and an actor, frankly, who really knows there's more to every story. And that's the lesson of this thing. Yeah. It's scarier. It's more twisted. It's more moving. It's all those things more than you think it could possibly be when you start watching it. And it's still smug and clever as hell. So good job, dude. I'm pretty impressed. There you go.
That's BJ Novak right there. Yeah. All right. Next up is our second Tandy Newton film. Yeah. And this one is God's Country.
Oh, wow. God's Country. I forgot that. We're talking about that tonight. Yeah. This is you got to read the premise.
Yep. When a college professor confronts 2 hunters she catches trespassing on her property, she's drawn into an escalating battle of wills with catastrophic consequences.
This is an IFC movie, very, very light. Where does she live? Did they say Montana or something?
Give me a moment.
She's in New Orleans. She's an ex-New Orleans police officer turned professor out in the middle of the mountains someplace. She went there with her husband. That's why she's there. He's dead when we join her in the story. She's grieving, and
Montana, yes,
Montana, and she's pushed to respond in the extreme. And they try and sort it out. I mean, it's a comedy of errors and how, they switch tactics and you think things might work out okay. But of course, a movie like this is, as he says, it ends in a catastrophic place. The synopsis told you that. That's its selling point, but that's not really what the movie is. The movie is about people trying to keep their shit together and about how those missteps bring out the absolute worst in us. And eventually, I don't want to say anybody can snap. Me and my buddy Nathan, who I'm doing the play with, were joking the other night. There was an Onion headline. I didn't read the article. I never do. The headlines are funny enough, basically, as they scroll by. Well, there was an Onion headline that says, and I'm paraphrasing, but it says, man unable to penetrate orange peel with finger believes himself capable of killing should the need arise. and and when I read that, I'm like, because I'm one of those, I'm a writer and I'm a creative, and I like to think if it's under this circumstance or that, I sit here probably for an unusually large portion of my lonely life. I imagine myself in these situations where I do the right thing, or I kick ass, or I outsmart somebody. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, I am, and I don't want to say we all are, but a lot of us who imagine ourselves to be otherwise really can't quite get that orange peel off. And that's it. That's the extent. Our being angry and throwing the orange across the room, while not pleasant to deal with if you're around us, is the extent of our vicious badassery. We're just children having little temper tantrums, basically. Mm-hmm. Tandy Newton's character in God's Country proves to be otherwise. She was not to be messed with, even though she's got the soul of a person who wants not to be going through this stuff. She's not quite Emily the criminal, but it's similar. It's like you know, it's similar to that story. It's just a very isolated, you know, mountainous Montana version of that story, where Emily the criminal is pretty urban, cool, urban chic.
Yeah. All right. Well, wrapping up our episode of movies from 2022 is a movie that is getting a lot of buzz right now because it is available on it has become available on streaming platforms, and that is The Menu. And that is Ray Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, and it is a young couple travels to a remote island to eat at an exclusive restaurant where the chef has prepared a lavish menu with some shocking surprises.
There was some blogger online who I imagine it was like BJ Novak's character in Vengeance, wrote an article, and the headline of the article was "The Ultimate in Food Horror." And he went on to explain why The Menu's genius and it is the ultimate food horror movie. And I just thought, that's interesting. That's kind of like saying Elf is the ultimate in sitcom space alien puppetry. I'll go further. Elf is the ultimate in 80s sitcom space alien puppetry.
There you go.
All other comers, Joel, pale by comparison.
Mm-hmm. Of all of the food horror films that came out in the end of last year starring Ray Fiennes, this one.
But the point is, you don't even have to go as far as all that.
Yeah.
It's already a specific thing that makes no sense.
Yeah, food horror.
Name any other food horror movie for me, please. You have 7 minutes.
I mean, the cook, the wife, the thief, and his lover. Sort of.
Okay. A little. Like, I guess I have to give you that one.
That movie's like 20, 30 years old at this point.
That movie, and like The Menu, it's not really a horror movie.
Yeah.
So even that part he's getting wrong. It's not that there's no horror in it. It's that, like a lot of films that horror fans take under their wing, it's like the third or fourth sort of thing you get to when you're talking about what the film is. First and foremost, The Menu is satire. It's effing brilliant satire. Really, really good. It's only the second best horror-related satire of the year, because there's another movie that came out that just like, what is it? It just that just shakes you to the core. But this movie is the smarter of the two, and and because it's so smart, it's a total winner. But it's super unpleasant. It's ugly. It's about ugly people.
Yeah.
There's a movie that was nominated for Best Oscar, whose name I can't remember, made by the Dutch fellow, which we're not even talking about, but this is a good place to talk about it. About a bunch of people stranded on an island who are all out on a pleasure cruise. Oh, yeah.
It's literally called like The Worst People in the World or something like that.
It's not called that, but sure.
Yeah.
We'll just call it that, because why do we need to name it when we're not technically reviewing it anyway? It's terrible. I mean, that guy's films started with Force Majeure, which actually was pretty clever, and I kind of liked it. The second movie's name I can't remember. I didn't really like, and this movie just downright hated. Yeah, I hate the rich, and I hope they eat themselves on a desert island too. But you gotta do something. You gotta do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to explain. You can't just be a stupid cartoon. I mean, you gotta have there's got to be some sort of soul in the world to make telling an awful story like this worth it. The Menu gets that. The terror on the faces of these people is real. You know, this varied ensemble of people who visit this restaurant and get the world turned upside down on them. Their reactions are real and human. Even the most despicable of them, their reactions are real and human. They're playing an absolutely absurd situation totally straight. Fiennes has got a, he doesn't have a mustache, but he does a little mustache twirling in the film for sure. What his famous line about playing Voldemort was, I worked so hard to try and find a way to play Voldemort not as a crazy over the top cartoon, and I realized there just isn't a way to do it. The only way to do him properly is to absolutely go for he is evil.
Mm-hmm.
He personifies evil. He's and of course Voldemort's a little more clever than that, because Voldemort, what he really is isn't so much evil as the threat of evil,
right.
And that's a little bit of step into a complication that I admire, but still evil. This guy isn't evil. This guy's just snapped, and he holds a great deal of power, and he's using it for absolutely diabolical purposes to prove some point only to himself. And again, like Mark Rylance previously, like some other people we've talked about tonight, Anna Taylor-Joy shows up here. It's great. They show up and they're all given their tickets and stuff, and they go to take her ticket, and they say, and they know the names of everybody and everything, because it's that exclusive. It's a dining room full of people. Everybody knows who they are, and they take her ticket, and they say her boyfriend, played by Nicholas Hoult, they say his ex-girlfriend who was supposed to come on this thing, and she's since in very short time been replaced by this other person who's different. And that difference throws a wrench into this grand scheme. And we've seen Anna play that character, I don't know, 4 or 5 times now, and never gets old. I've ripped on her a little bit. I was a little hard on her for Emma and a couple other things, but the truth is she's a closed-faced actor. And we want to be invited in by these people, but the people who intrigue us the most and are the most mysterious and are the most amazing to us, and the people who you never know what they're thinking, but you always can tell that they are thinking, are awesome. And she's just the best of her generation at that so far. So good. And this chess game between her and these other people in the room, but particularly between her and Fiennes, who are sociologically closer to each other than they first may think, it's joyful to watch. It's despicable and disgusting, and it shocked me several times, and it's dark and it's mean, but that's satire, and that's dark comedy, and that's true suspense comes out of that. I usually don't like these things because usually they're just mean. If you're not funny and if you don't care, then what are you? All you're left with typically is meanness. So it's the suspense, the ultimate genre where the execution is everything. This film is about the perfect execution. As Anna tells him, he goes, the problem with this, there's no love in it. And he says, we love all of our food. And she goes, no! This wasn't cooked with love. This was cooked with obsession, is what she says. And she cuts him to the core. And a movie that's that smart and gets it on that level, I mean, it's a joy to watch. It really is. It's an Anna Taylor-Joy to watch. You will.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, you should. You really should check out the menu.
That.
I mean, and I really don't recommend dark
joy to watch.
I really don't recommend dark comedy. Joel will tell you. I don't even want to talk about it typically.
Yeah.
It's so good.
That's good.
It's so good, and it's the second best one of the year. That's what's so exciting. There's yet another one that's even darker, more twisted, more absurd, more crazy that's coming up. But this movie is, I don't know if it's making a point. I really don't think that it is so much making a point. It's got a bunch of characters making different points, and it leaves you to contemplate them at the end. That's better than, because the cheaper satire, the pret-a-porters of the world or whatever, they're just telling you what you think in every way possible for 2 straight hours and exhausting you by it. This movie doesn't do that. You're not necessarily supposed to be on any of these people's sides, but are you really interested in seeing people get eviscerated? Either You shouldn't be. And if you're not, you'll find a story that you get wrapped up in the menu.
Well, and
smart
and
impressive.
It's food, and it's the best of food horror.
And it's the ultimate in food horror.
In food horror. All right, folks. That's gonna wrap it up for this episode.
I can't argue with that, Joel. It is the ultimate in food horror.
I mean, the guy was able to boil it down to its essence as he saw it, and realized it really is the ultimate of food horror. All right, so that is going to do it for us for this week. We have tons of more movies to get to, including my favorite movie of last year, which I'm very excited. We probably might. I don't think we're going to get to that in the next episode, but certainly very soon.
That will trot that out close to the end, actually, because there's a reason now to put it with.
I know.
We started out with baiting the 2022 Oscars, and we're going to end, as we always do, with baiting the 2023 Oscars.
Indeed.
And though it's not part of that category, it'll be right there with those films.
Yep. I'm very excited. All right, so that is going to do it for us for this week's look back at the year in review 2022 and a few from 2021. All right. All right, you can reach out to us on Facebook, the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan page, and you can reach out to us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and if you're watching us on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed the video programming, and leave us a comment and a like, and click that anytime you see a thumbs up.
If you didn't watch it on YouTube, you couldn't see the shark dance.
You didn't get to see the shark dance, and I think that is going to be something that's going to draw people to here. I'll do it with you. This will be our tile, maybe.
Our love is like a shark fin.
Our love is like a shay. There it is. All right, y'all. You guys, I'll have a wonderful, wonderful week. We will see you next time on the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan, and that's gonna do it. Go see a movie.
Sorry, Love Actually fans.
No, we're not.
Thank you for listening to The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. Remember, all views and opinions represented in this podcast are personal and belong solely to the speaker and do not represent those people, institutions, or organizations that the speaker may or may not be associated with, unless explicitly stated. None of these views and opinions were intended to malign or deceive. And now, here's the producers, circa 1982, to play us out.